Mr. DeLuca, welcome back.
Thank you.
So you're the first one this morning, counsel for the Conservative Party. You can go on.
Good morning, panelists. Mr. Clow, in your testimony earlier, you remarked that the Prime Minister receives about 1,000 briefing memos a year. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. And am I correct that those memos are meant to be summary in nature so that the Prime Minister gets the essence of the issues involved?
No, I would describe it as two types of notes. There's information notes that go to him. Typically, those go straight through to him when received by our office. Sometimes we may apply our own additional information. Decision notes can be incredibly detailed, many pages. Budget decision notes can be decisions in the billions of dollars. So they're more than summary in nature.
Okay. I'm trying to get a sense as to the volume of information that's in these memos. Are we talking, are they short, they long?
Some of them can be short, but some of them can be quite long. And I would point out, even the two we looked at here today about unclassified briefings to members of Parliament, you could imagine, or one might think that could be a short note, but both of those notes, one of them was 6 pages, another one was 25 pages. Mm-hmm. That's just about one single briefing to a member of Parliament. You can imagine a budget decision note could be many more pages.
Okay. 1,000 memos a year works out to about 2 3/4 per day. Would you agree with me that the Prime Minister of Canada should not have any problem reading and digesting 3 briefing notes a day?
I don't agree because it is a massive oversimplification. These are sometimes huge decisions that, as I said, sometimes can amount to billion-dollar questions. Machinery of government, legislation. The note on the foreign agents registry was itself one note. There's a huge amount of information and considerations in something like that. So these get significantly considered, and sometimes they're the product of hundreds of public servants feeding into it over many months, sometimes years, building up to these notes.
But he's the Prime Minister. He's expected to read these, isn't he?
And he does read them.
Ms. Telford, in your in-camera interview summary, I think, can I have WIT 161 pulled up? And if I understood correctly, this is an addendum to your stage 1 in-camera evidence?
Yes.
Okay. And could I ask you to, or can I go to paragraph 8? It says, Ms. Telford, and this is in respect of what we've called a warrant. It's been described otherwise here too, but you know what I'm referring to. It says, Ms. Telford testified that she was not aware that CSIS was seeking a particular warrant at the time it was sought. Is that a reference to the warrant application that sat on Zita Astervis's desk for 54 days in 2021 before being presented to Minister Blair for signature?
I'm not sure that I can speak to the particularities of any specific warrant, but I can say that I have never been involved or informed about the seeking of any warrant.
Okay. And with respect to when you gave your evidence at paragraph 8, you had a specific warrant in mind?
I think that would be fair to say.
Okay.
But it is true generally as well.
What is true generally? Sorry.
It is true generally as well, in that I am not involved in the warrant process.
Okay, but I wasn't asking about that. With respect to whatever it is that you're referring to at paragraph 8, are you prepared to, do you know today who was the individual who was the subject of the warrant?
We would object to that question.
On what grounds?
National security grounds.
Okay, well, I'll put my questions on the record. With respect to the warrant that you're referring to at paragraph 8, are you now aware of the individual who was the subject of the warrant? First question. Are you aware of any of the individuals who were on the Van Weening list that accompanied that warrant application? That's the next question. Separately now, Ms. Telford, were you the campaign director for Liberal leader Justin Trudeau in 2015?
Yes.
You had overall responsibilities including staffing the central campaign?
Yes.
You hired Ms. Zita Astervas from Queen's Park to work on the 2015 Trudeau election?
Yes.
Okay. And following that campaign, you became Chief of Staff to Justin Trudeau in his capacity as Prime Minister?
I did.
And you hired Ms. Astervas as the Prime Minister's Director of Issues Management?
Yes.
And did she report directly to you?
I believe so. There was a Deputy Chief of Staff at the time as well, but yes.
Okay, and was that the only report in between you and Ms. Astervas?
Yes.
Are ministers in your government able to hire a Chief of Staff without approval from the PMO?
Yes.
Okay. And did the Prime Minister's office play any role in Ms. Astervas's becoming Minister Blair's Chief of Staff?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Did the Prime Minister's office play any role in Ms. Astervas becoming Minister Blair's Chief of Staff?
Minister Blair made the decision on his Chief of Staff.
Okay, and so by that, are you suggesting that the PMO didn't put forward a list of candidates, including Ms. Astervas?
No, I believe Minister Blair had a point of view on his Chief of Staff.
Well, that's not what I asked you. Did the PMO's office have any input into Minister Blair's hiring of Ms. Astervas?
I don't recall if Minister Blair asked me about Ms. Astervas, but I do know he made the decision, and it was very much his decision.
Okay, well, whether or not Minister Blair asked you, did you put forward Ms. Astervas as a recommended candidate for Minister Blair?
I didn't need to.
Did
I
anyone
didn't.
in your
No.
Did anyone in your office, in the PMO's office, put forward Ms. Astervas as a candidate for Minister Blair?
I don't believe so.
Ms. Telford, would you consider Ms. Astervas to be a friend?
Yes.
Mr. Clow, am I correct that before joining the Trudeau government, you also worked alongside Ms. Astervas for Mr. Michael Ignatieff and Kathleen Wynne?
Yes.
And would it be correct to say that you had worked with Ms. Astervas for the decade leading up to the 2021 general election?
Roughly speaking, yes.
And with respect to paragraph 8 in WIT 161, I have the same questions for you for the record, Mr. Clow. I understand.
Question are noted.
Thank you. An additional question with respect to the warrant that is referred to in paragraph 8. Assuming it's the same warrant that Minister Blair gave extensive evidence about, we heard from him and from others that that warrant sat in his office for approval for roughly 54 days. My question is this: has anyone in the PMO's office taken any steps to understand why Minister Blair's office took 54 days, which is 6 times the ordinary period we heard evidence about, to get this warrant signed?
I believe you are massively oversimplifying things once again. And I just want to answer all of your questions by saying none of us in the Prime Minister's office are involved in anything to do with warrant processes or to do with warrants. And the minister, I believe, has already spoken to what you're just asking.
Okay, but how about answering my question now? You keep volunteering that information. Have you taken any steps since you learned about this 54-day delay, either before or after, or as part of this inquiry, to figure out why it took 54 days? Because we certainly didn't get any answers from Ms. Astervas or from Minister Blair. So my question is for you three now, sitting on the panel.
I don't get involved in warrant processes, and I look forward to what the inquiry has to say about whatever happened in going into the future.
with all due respect, I'm asking if the PMO's office took any steps to do its own investigations as to why it took 54 days.
I heard you breathe.
The individuals involved have spoken to this at length. This commission is looking at that very question. We look forward to the commission's work and the conclusions.
It's a simple yes or no question. Have you or have you not taken investigations in the PMO's office
We
to
don't
find
get
out?
involved in warrants.
That's not what I'm asking you, though.
Well, you are asking.
I'm asking you to tell me whether you've done any investigation after the fact as to why it took
The
54
commission is
days.
doing exactly that work,
But I'm asking you to help the commission do that work.
and we look forward to the commission's conclusions.
Madam Commissioner, could I get an answer? It's either yes or no.
I think you can answer the question.
We don't have conversations about warrants, period.
That's not what I'm asking, ma'am, and I think you understand what I'm asking.
This is me trying to answer your question.
Well, I'd like a
I
yes
have
or no
not
answer.
discussed this warrant, any warrant, with the minister.
So
Does that help?
I will add one thing, which I believe will be an answer to your question. Yes, when this issue in the last few weeks has become public, we've had conversations, and I've spoken to Zita directly, and she told me exactly what she told the commission.
Okay, so some sort of inquiry has been undertaken from someone at the PMO's office as to what happened for 54 days.
Particularly when issues become public, and a lot of the issues that are in focus here, yes, we do have our own conversations with each other.
Okay, and I appreciate that you may not be able to discuss the details, but have the details of your own inquiries at the PMO's office been shared with the commission?
It would be overstating to say it's an inquiry. We're sharing it now. I've spoken to Zita Stravis about this.
Right.
She told me exactly what she told the commission.
Okay, so beyond the discussions that you've had with Zita Stravis, has anyone else in the PMO's office undertaken an analysis as to why it took 54 days for that warrant application to be placed in front of Minister Blair?
No.
Other than to follow what has been happening here.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.